Hello, welcome to Swapping Joysticks. It is the 4th of September 2023, and I'm Ben Ostwick, and I'm joined as always by
Me, Ed Nightingale.
Ed Nightingale, and someone call the burn unit, because Ed burnt himself.
I'm injured today. I'm very injured, and I feel very silly.
What happened?
Well, I was cooking Ben
Were you?
a delicious meal.
Weird pause.
Wow. A lovely slow-cooked lamb with wine and spices and herbs, which was actually really nice. I was very impressed with myself. With some potatoes, some
chewy,
cavolo
but yeah. What?
It's not chewy.
No, it's fine. It was fine. Maybe I didn't cut it the right.
I'm going to blame your cutting in that case. There's nothing chewy about my meat. And it was very nice. And I did the really silly thing of slow cooking it in a pot with a pan lid. And I took it out the oven and then I grabbed the lid.
Why did you grab the lid?
With my bare hands.
Why?
Because I'm silly.
Oh.
And I'm so used to using that pan on the hob and just not thinking about the lid. So I grabbed the lid and picked it up and then was like, oh, that's really hot. But I'm also very precious about my expensive pans. So I didn't want to just drop it and smash it. So I was like, well, where can I put it? Where can I put it? Until I found somewhere to drop it. By which point, I'd burnt the fuck out of my fingers. So, yeah, held it under cold water for a long time. And
Hours.
It took forever for the heat and the pain to go out of my fingers.
It was generally about 2 a.m. when you fell asleep.
Yeah. I fell asleep holding a wet flannel or damp flannel over some frozen peas, which was the only thing that would numb the pain, despite taking a load of painkillers.
Yeah, you had way more than probably is advised.
Well, but they were spaced out. It's fine.
Then you had a nightmare that you couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh God, have you had too many pills?
Yeah, I dropped off to sleep, and then literally I had a nightmare that you were next to me, and I was trying to like shake to nudge you to wake you up because I couldn't open my mouth because I couldn't breathe. Apparently I couldn't breathe through my nose either. And then I woke up and was like...
I wondered what that yeah. So what's he been doing?
Yeah, I mean, we looked up like online what to do and 111 and everything's just, it's a minor burn. You've just got to wait for
everyone's
the...
like...
You just got to wait
whining.
for the pain and the heat to go out, basically, which just took a lot longer than I thought it would. And it's not like, it's not black or white or anything weird or, bursting. There is a large blister coming up on my thumb.
Oh God, that's going to be one big bubble.
Yeah, which is not going to be fun. But apart from that, I've put some Savlon on it. It will be fine. But I was not in a good mood yesterday.
No, you
Dinner
weren't.
was ruined. The evening was ruined. I shouted at you quite a lot.
I don't know why.
I just needed to expel some anger. And
That's
you
fine.
were the only person there.
Luckily, he was chained pretty much to the sink with his finger under it, so I was out of like slapping range.
Well, you had to finish dinner. I wouldn't have slapped you. You had to finish dinner under
Duress.
commands.
Yeah.
You did it well.
Good, I'm glad. We missed
fried the cabbage very well.
Yeah, that was actually nice. What was it called again? Pablo...
Cavolo Nero.
Okay. Pablo Nero. I think he's in Bayonetta. So, yeah.
Sure.
It's actually really nice. I don't know what it is, but I still don't know what it is.
It's kind of somewhere between spinach and cabbage, basically.
It's spinach and cabbage that you get from Waitrose.
We had a lovely trip to Waitrose, especially for this meal.
Especially for this meal. And we got some epoisse that we're going to have to save for the Spanish Grand Prix, which we'll be watching later.
I also missed...
the red velvet cake.
My red velvet cheesecake dessert.
I didn't.
Courtesy of Goo.
Yeah.
Goo. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. I really want to play video games, but it's my thumb which I use for the controller. So it's really
I walked in and you were playing Sea of Stars like you were like a child with a keyboard for the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. At least that's menu based playing Sea of Stars. But I will hold it in my left hand, the controller, and then tap with my middle finger on top and just tap buttons. So that's going to be fun to play. No Armored Core for me.
Which hand is it?
My right one.
Oh,
which
no.
also makes other things really hard. Wiping my ass this morning with my left hand was really difficult.
I was going to say something else then. That's good. Well,
anyway, it's been a fun weekend.
Burn.
I wanted a nice weekend, just relaxing, play some games and chilling out. And last night was a disaster.
Yeah, because I was like, you were there with your finger under the tap, and I'm like, well, I can't just stick on Starfield and ignore you while you're there.
I mean, I'd rather you did that because at least one of us would have had an entertaining evening.
Well, I was waiting for you to say that, but you never did, so I was like...
Just do it, man.
Yeah, well, it's a bit late now. Anyway, speaking of Starfield,
Yes.
should we go into what we've been playing?
What I've been attempting to. Well, I know I played a lot before this evening, but
That's good.
or last night.
Yeah.
But you can start.
Sure, why
What have
not?
you been playing? What released this week?
Starfield.
Yeah.
I have been playing Starfield. I've played maybe...
The big controversial space game.
Yeah, I got to 7 out of 10. It is the latest RPG from Bethesda Games Works. Something like that. I don't know what it is.
I think it's Bethesda.
Yeah. But they are... it's come out and it's had some controversy because some review
Because
outlets...
it wasn't perfect. Shock horror.
Some review outlets dared to give it a 7 and some gave it a 10 and a 9. It's been a bit of a mixed bag between 7 and 10.
Now, is this your first Bethesda game?
It's not my first Bethesda game. However, I am now... I mean, I'm very early in. I'm like 7 hours in because I just played it yesterday. I will play some more tonight. But I'm 7 hours in, and I believe that is actually the longest I've ever played a Bethesda RPG.
Oh, well, that is a good sign.
Because both of them, Skyrim and Fallout 4, I have played like 6 hours of. Fallout 4, I played 6 hours of and didn't even discover VATS. I was like, this is really difficult. Because I was playing on a console as well. I was playing on PS3, 4? What was it originally on?
Fallout 4?
Yeah.
That was PS4.
4, yeah.
Fallout 3 was PS3, as was Skyrim.
Yeah, I never played... Well, I played Skyrim, but I played Skyrim on so many different platforms. But
out of interest, why did you drop off those games?
I was about to go into that. Yeah. So, but no, it's good. I like the interview. It's nice. I fell off... I fell off Fallout because generally I thought it was far too difficult because I had missed or I'd skipped the tutorial bit that talked about VATS. And it was the days that you didn't like... I didn't watch loads of gaming videos. I didn't watch streams on Twitch. I didn't like none of this. So I was just like, I've no idea really what to do. Why is it so difficult? It must be just a difficult game. There are other games that I've got, like FIFA. It was those days.
Oh no.
That I could play and actually, do quite well at.
Do you know what? Fallout is so much easier than FIFA.
For some.
Sports games are the only games I can't play. I cannot get my head around sports games. I'm useless at them.
We all know why. But then yeah. But no, I mean, I fell off a bit. But then I did play a little bit, not too recently, about a year and a half ago, of Fallout 4 with, understanding what VATS are. And I played a fair bit. I think I played another 6 hours, but got a lot further than I did in the first one. But then was like, you know what? It's all right. I find it a little bit depressing. And I know Fallout's meant to be like that.
I mean,
and
it's an apocalypse.
Exactly.
What did you expect?
I just don't particularly like that setting.
Interesting.
And then Skyrim, I played, and I've mentioned this a few times before, I played Skyrim straight after finishing The Witcher 3, which is not the way to do it.
Error.
Because I went and played it and was like, oh, I just want to go back and play some more Witcher instead. It was fun, but it was definitely a game that's older than The Witcher.
It is of its time. I mean, I played Skyrim when it came out, and was that my first Bethesda game? Or did I play Fallout 3 first? I can't quite remember. But like Skyrim I loved, but I haven't gone back to it since whenever it came out, like 10 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Part of me would like to play it again, just to experience it in a different way, but I'm not sure if it quite holds up. Fallout, I've played 3 and 4, both to completion, and really enjoyed them.
I bet if I sat down and played with them more and played with them rather than in the mindset of like, I need to finish this game, but more in like, I want to get to know all these characters and I want to see the world building and I want to, go off my own a little bit and just discover something random. I think I would have enjoyed it more.
The problem with Fallout is that once you've played one, you've kind of played them all.
Even New Vegas?
I know that
New Vegas.
Well, I know that they do. I haven't played New Vegas. I know that, and I've heard about it. I know that is a lot more bright and colourful and slightly different. But ultimately, they all take place in an apocalyptic wasteland that is very brown and grey, and it kind of looks the same. Now
Lancashire.
Yeah, exactly. There are vaults that you go into. There are certain bits that are different. Fallout 3 has a really cool mission where you go into this kind of VR kind of thing, and it takes you to this other world that is in your head that you're playing through, and it's like controlled by a rogue AI. And spoilers, it's an old game. And it's basically a load of people that went into a vault and put themselves into like stasis, and they go into this sort of Stepford Wives kind of all-American cul-de-sac, picket fence kind of vibe, where they can just live their life and they don't know that they're in a machine. So it's a way for them to escape the Fallout, basically.
Oh.
And so there's little bits like that that are really clever and change things up a bit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I played through Fallout 4 and was like, this is just Fallout 3 again. And I feel like when they do a Fallout 5, it's going to be really hard to make that stand out. So I can see, my point being, I can see why they've decided, let's do something brand new and go to space. So at least it's a different setting.
I think Fallout 5 might be a bit grander, like in a New York or something like that. Or is that maybe the story? I don't know if the lore has kind of eradicated New York or something like that.
Well, each game has been a different area of New York. I mean, it doesn't have to be America. Like, give us Fallout London.
Yes.
I'd love that.
Tokyo.
Yeah. And just change things up a bit.
Or like the Japanese countryside, although there wouldn't be many trees, would there? Do they have trees in Fallout?
I think so. Say, do they have trees in Japan?
I think they have trees. It's all blossom trees. It's like pink. That's all I've seen, yeah. I think it's all year round.
So tell us how space compares.
But I was saying, but Skyrim as well. I couldn't. I've done a few goofy things. I was sent flying by a giant.
Of course,
we've all done that. There's that meme, but also it does happen actually, isn't it, in the game? Anyway, yeah. So I just kind of fell off them a bit. But I also going to the other Bethesda games. I loved. Wait, did Bethesda the new Doom?
Well, it's made by id, but it's published by Bethesda.
That I loved the first one. I didn't really play Eternal because that came out an hour before Animal Crossing, and then my life just changed. But I played quite a bit of the Outer Worlds, which I enjoyed, and I think that's like Fallout New Vegas. Is it
That's Obsidian?
Is it?
Yeah.
Why did I? Oh, it's because it's the New Vegas people. Okay.
Yep.
We'll get there. And no, I absolutely loved Wolfenstein, the 2 remake single player games. Not remake, but the rebirth of the new of those, and they were fantastic, but they were not open world RPGs at all. But they had just a wacky story, and I was like, okay, these people know how to tell a fun story. So yeah, I've been playing Starfield. Like I said, only about 7 or 8 hours in. I definitely see a lot of like the criticism. So the biggest gripe for me is that there are loading screens between doing everything, and you have to go into menus for pretty much everything. And when you land on a world, there's no map. Like, there is a map if you want to go in, but there's just no. And I don't know if it's something that later I'll unlock and I can start like mapping things myself. Who knows? But when you open up a map on a planet, you see a couple of the locations, but that's all. Everything else is like just dots, as though there's nothing else there. You just see the location, but like you don't know if there's a river or anything. Like, there's literally 0 things on this map other than like the relation to where something is in relation to where you are. And yeah, if you want to go, so if you go into your ship, there's a loading screen. They're very short, but there is a loading screen. So you go into your ship, and this is on Xbox Series X and on PC because I played it on both. If you go onto your ship, the loading screen, when you sit down, it'll come up and say, oh, where do you want to go? So then you have to go and you have to take off, which then is a loading screen into kind of orbit. And then if you want to go to another planet, you have to go into your menu again to select another planet to go to and to land on. And it's just a lot of loading screens, whereas something a lot simpler like No Man's Sky, you are there in the cockpit controlling it from the second you get into your ship.
Yeah, it's seamless.
It's completely seamless. And if you want to kind of just fly over at low altitude, if you want to go and drive 50 miles away from where you landed, you can just you can set off and just go fly over there and drop down and completely fine. Whereas this just feels very, and obviously it's going to be a limitation to the game, and with all their ambition, that there's a reason why that they can't do that. But I don't know, it just takes away from the immersion a bit, and it's like, okay, I got to go into another menu, and it makes you less likely to. Well, for me, it makes me less likely to go and discover other places on a planet if I've landed already.
I guess the idea they're going for is sort of the infinite space. You can just keep going and exploring as vastly as possible, but then the fact that you're just selecting things from a menu and essentially just teleporting there, it kind of makes the world feel a bit smaller, I guess. Yeah,
and I need to work out if I can if I can kind of make a list of all the places that I've been and where I need to go and just select that. Because at the moment, what is quite annoying is when you go, so there are different areas. There's like the planet orbit map, that you go into, and then you press B to go back into like the solar system map. Then you press B again to go back into like the universe one, and that's when you can select different solar systems. However, then once you've come out of that, it's quite zoomed in, and even zooming out doesn't show you like full of everything that you can do. So I don't know, it's just a little bit fiddly, especially on console for that, because you have to kind of scroll to the edges, and it's one of those fake mouse things on screen for that.
No, I hate that menu.
Yeah. So it's got that, unfortunately.
I mean, Bethesda, if you're listening, you're not. But if you were, can you add that to your accessibility options? Your very limited accessibility options. Please stop with the fucking Destiny-style mouse menu. I hate that. It's the worst kind of menu.
I don't dislike it. I just dislike it when you have to scroll to the edge of the screen, because that just makes it, and then you have to move the screen over because it's like, well, that's a PC menu.
Well, that's like, it's a PC menu, but I'm not using a mouse. Just let me scroll through the options while they're going.
It's weird because they did that.
Over.
That was originally in Destiny 1, wasn't it? When it wasn't even on PC.
Yeah, Destiny, I feel like popularized that. I remember Deathloop did it as well, and then they changed it and added an option so you could just cycle
I didn't
through
realize
the
they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. And also, I've been chatting to a journalist who's been playing a bit and getting very, very frustrated.
Not me.
No, a different journalist. Much better one. No.
Wow.
One that got a review copy. No, actually, I don't think they did. So, and he was saying how he'd broken his leg in the game. I didn't even know that was possible. Had no idea how to get there. Had been picking up everything. And it's like, they don't tell you really where to go or where to do anything. At the moment, it's very much here you go and do some main missions. That's what he told me. However, I think there are these things called activities in there. So you've got different missions. You've got the main quest. You've got some side stuff. You've got the, it's like the faction quests, because there are factions in this. And then there's one called activities. And as far as I'm aware, activities don't give you, maybe they give you a little bit of XP, but they're just there like stick a beacon on a planet. Which also, by the way, just going back quickly to the bit where I'm like, I wouldn't fly 50 kilometers to get from somewhere outside of my ship. I'm hoping, and don't tell me if it is, but I'm hoping that we unlock something with a ship where you can kind of just do short travel, like the equivalent of like a bike or a car.
I have no idea, so I can't spoil it for you.
Okay, that would be quite cool if that does exist, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Fingers crossed. And but yeah, going back to what I was saying, these activities, I think they might give you a little bit of XP, but there's no story attached whatsoever. But they are maybe kind of teaching you the basics. So, although they haven't taught you the basics of if you break your leg, and I haven't found like a med bay or anything. So
I feel like I've got like a million questions to ask you.
They're my main gripes about it. Also, the characters look a little bit kind of through you.
I mean, that's Bethesda.
It is.
Like, Bethesda know how to make environments. Mm-hmm. They do not know how to animate people because everyone's just, it's like that typical Bethesda, you're having a conversation, they're straight on like,
yeah, it's still a bit like
it's
that.
Just, yeah, really robotic.
Yeah. So it was like, it's a lot of menus going out when you're kind of traveling to other planets. A lot of the missions are ticking off, just like, random, I'm ticking these things off. It's a bit fiddly, especially with some of the, like the weapons. Scrolling, maybe there's a different menu thing. Like scrolling doesn't scroll through your weapons. Scrolling changes you into like third person or first person or different types of third person. But like despite all of that, I'm actually really loving it. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Despite that lengthy diatribe on how shit it is.
No, they were my gripes. I was like, I'll get the gripes out of the way. I am really enjoying it. And I just like, I find the worlds and the characters and the writing is so far is interesting enough to keep me interested. I know people have said it's a bit slow to start with, and yeah, that story bit at the beginning might be a little bit slow, but I've just spent 4 hours doing a side mission. It wasn't even, in fact, I don't even think it's called like a side quest. It's called something, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just a side thing where I was helping some guy out in the mining facility, and I needed to work out who'd stolen some mining equipment, and it just involved this really long-ish quest where I had to go and apply for a job, do this job so I could hack into a couple of computers, get this guy some help, find out who had stolen this equipment, track them down, then try and persuade this person from doing something, which I won't spoil. And I was just like, this is just completely side stuff, not related to the main story, but I'm totally invested, and it was just written in a way that didn't make me bored at all, and I was wanting to do the next quest each time. However, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but right at the very end, that I felt that there were two ways that it could end, but one of them I couldn't really do, which I guess was the better result of this. I couldn't do because my persuasion skills weren't high enough. So it's quite interesting that I focused on that. However, because my level was quite low, then there was only really one option that was going to happen. But maybe in a second playthrough, because I've heard people talking about a new game plus stuff that people have got a lot of opinions on. Maybe through there, I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to be a lot higher level at persuasion, so I can maybe get them to do something else instead.
I mean, that's role playing.
And I've also just recently discovered space magic.
Well, spoilers.
This was in the trailers that was on, but this one thing. Well, I've discovered one, and I think it was the one that was in the trailer, and I feel like there's a lot more as well.
I mean, I'm not surprised because I feel like the story is incredibly predictable, even just from the trailers.
Sure, but don't tell me because I'm not.
No. I won't say
about
but
it. I'm not somebody that I don't like to guess what's going to happen next because I like to be surprised. But the actual shooting and combat seems fine. No issues at all. There's a lot of spread on my bullets, but then I've got very basic weapons. So maybe as you get higher quality items, it's going to be a lot better shooting.
This was one of my questions. How does the shooting feel? Because I was watching you and it felt like you were aiming, but your bullets were shooting elsewhere. So is it that? Well, no, not in a your bad way.
Well,
but in a
that as well.
Is it the typical RPG shooter where there's a slight element of RNG? Where even though you're aiming just to make it more RPG and difficult, you don't quite aim, the bullets don't quite hit even though you're aiming properly.
I think maybe that's something that is because it's a basic weapon. And I think maybe once you've got some much higher quality weapons, I've got a weapon that's, because they've got the typical color coordination. You've got gray and then it's purple, I think, and then yellow, or I don't know. The thing is, Destiny has ruined me a little bit because they put colors in a different, because that was where I based all my kind of loot colors on is Destiny, whereas blue, basic green, blue, was it green? Purple and then yellow, whereas I think yellow and purple is the other way around in quite a few other games, right? Like Legendary and Heroic or whatever. So I think, and I'm I'm just thinking back, I'm did I get rid of a purple for a yellow when actually it was maybe the other way around? That I should have done. But they're the weapon. Actually, no, because those weapons anything that's not basic, I don't remove. But for me, the most difficult part of it, I talk about the menus and stuff, but I've got it down to I know what I'm doing now. It doesn't bother me at all. It's just a way of, I need to get there. Boom, boom, boom. I can do it now. I'm used to it. The one thing that's a little bit annoying is knowing what weapons and stuff to sell. So I've got all these weapons and I'm well, that's higher on one thing and this is higher on another, but I've got room for 7 weapons. So do I need I'm guessing I need a long range, I need a short range. Yes, I need a machine gun, but also I need a sniper and a pistol. And these take this ammo. So I don't want these two things because there's an Uzi type gun that uses the same ammo as a pistol or whatever. And so I'm looking at those going these are just basic weapons. So I'm probably going to get rid of them in a couple of hours anyway, but what do I want to keep? What do I want to use? I need to sit down and think which ones are best. But I think maybe what I should do is just go through it, get to kind of later on in the game when I'm starting to get some really good weapons and just use the ones that I feel are great.
Yeah.
And I said, ammo's not been completely abundant for me. I've reached a couple of times where I was on my last gun with weapon, my last ammo type. And I've had to hack people with an axe. But I did switch it down to easy mode on console because I've been playing on PC and then I was switching onto console and I'm it's probably going to be a bit more difficult with a controller because I'm not used to that. So I switched over to easy mode and it's been fine.
Are there other options in combat in terms of maybe being a bit more stealthy or using the environment or talking your way out of combat?
Yeah, and I've done that before. I've talked my way out of combat. I did a little bit of piracy. So I went over to it's very weird. So I went into a place that was completely new and it was there's a merchant ship or something. I'm that's weird because I've only ever seen merchants. Well, it's not weird, but I've only seen merchants on planets. So I thought, okay, I'll go and see what this merchant ship has got, see if I can sell some stuff. And I went over to them, and one of the options was pirate, and it was like, give me all your inventory. So I was like, give me all your inventory. And then I had like, and then they're like, sorry, I don't quite hear what you say. And you then go, no, give me all your inventory. But then you've got to use your persuasion to convince them to do it. And yeah, it was successful. And then they left, and I thought, oh, I'm going to, I got all their stuff, which was great. By the way, definitely recommend doing a bit of piracy. And then they left, completely fine. They're like, oh, no, please don't, please leave me alone. Okay, I'll be fine. Here you go. And then they flew off. And I thought, oh, they're probably going to go and like report me, and I'm going to be in trouble. So I shot their ship down, killing them. And everybody on my ship was very, very angry for some reason.
Oh, I wonder.
And one of them, at least one of them was like, I had to calm them down to be like, please don't be really, really angry. And I managed to do that. And she was like, okay, but next time we're at port, I'm getting off. I was like, oh, okay, right, reload, reload autosave. So then I went and did, but then I was like, okay, actually, I'll do it again, but won't kill them. Because they didn't show any like dislike or hate when I was actually robbing the ship.
Okay, but so you can rob but just not kill.
Exactly. I think they support you robbing Makes things. Which is weird because then I was also doing a side quest where I needed to take some contraband. And one of my sidekicks was like, you're not going to do that, are you? But apparently, like, holding up a merchant ship and stealing all their credits and ship repair bits and all of this stuff was fine. Yeah, so I went and did it the second time and then lost the persuasion. And she's like, I'm out of here. Okay, so I was like, okay, well, I'll do it the third time. And then the third time, I did the persuasion correct. They gave me everything. But as she was going away, she's like, right, I'm going to report this the second I get off, or the second I get to another planet. And I'm like, well,
and your companion said that?
No, the person on the ship said,
right.
This time when they flew away, instead of like, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, please leave me alone, instead of doing that, they actually left with like, oh, I'm going to report it the next time I'm on a main planet. So far, they haven't, because I've been to a main planet and nothing's happened. I don't know, because you can go to like bounty areas and pay off your bounties. So if there is a bounty on me, then I can maybe do that. I'll go and inspect it to see if they have reported me. But I didn't shoot them out the sky this time.
So how is it for that exploratory role-playing vibe where you can be a pirate, or you can do something else? And does it have that sort of Breath of the Wildy type vibe where you can just fly to a planet and you sort of fall down a hole and end up doing a whole quest after that? Have you found that yet?
I've not really gone out of my way for these, but there are caves, and I've heard that there are some caves that are just on like random planets that actually do have quite like a bit of length to them, and you can, it turns into a mission, but I've not discovered those yet. I've just kind of been sticking to the main story and that's mining side quest, because I've seen people say like you want to do quite a bit of the main story so that you unlock certain things that will help you. Like I think one of them is the space magic.
Okay.
Which literally, if you play Starfield, you'll get that within your first time playing it if you stick with it for a few hours.
First few hours, you get that. Okay.
Yeah, I got it like 7 hours in, but that was me doing that long side quest stuff. So you could probably get it in like 3 or 4.
Listening to you talk about it does make me want to play it, and it's not that I don't. No. I know that I do want to play this game. I have played Skyrim. I've played Fallout 3 and 4. I like Bethesda's games.
You will get stressed with the menus, though.
Oh, I'm sure. To me, this definitely feels like Fallout in space.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because those games are great, and I think for certain people, they will play this and go, "Yeah, it's Fallout in space. It's exactly what I wanted." And that's fine. And I know that to a degree, that alone means that I will like this game and I will enjoy it. I will happily play it. I just feel like I think Bethesda have hyped it up a lot by saying that like it's this huge space game. You can go anywhere, be whatever you want to be. It's the ultimate space game. But I think also because of the situation with Xbox and Microsoft, where they don't really have a lot of good exclusives, there's a lot riding on the shoulders of Starfield. And I feel like that's added so much hype and anticipation that it feels a bit disappointing if it doesn't reach that like 10 out of 10 best game ever vibe. And I think that's maybe why some people are getting very angry on the internet.
Oh my God. Yeah, you don't even get me started on that. There's somebody, I mean, I just tweeted earlier because I found somebody literally like losing their shit on, it's been quote tweeted and retweeted a few times. Yeah. somebody losing their shit, like really for over 2 minutes, just ranting and screaming because they wanted to get lost in an RPG, and apparently there are pronouns. You can choose your pronouns in this.
Oh, and that stops you getting lost.
Well, apparently because this is new world, this is new real age BS. Apparently,
fucking deal with it, mate.
But no, some replies were like, "Oh, that was something." Wish he'd, my favorite Donut Tart replied with, "Wish he'd put this energy into getting an iron." Which is brilliant. And then, Julia Hardy replied, so you can travel the entire universe, meet people from cultures as far-reaching as the stars, but God forbid you have to answer one question at the start to make another player have a more comfortable experience.
Exactly.
The thing is, like, they don't... Obviously, like, your pronouns and stuff, people have somehow politicized that. But, like, genuinely, when you're creating the game, it's like, what body type do you want? Do you want to change... So, like, that's just to help the game refer to you as a pronoun that you want. So, I mean, maybe you have a slightly, let's say, feminine presenting body. You can have that in the game, but you can still be a guy. It's like,
Just let people be who they want to be.
Like, it's just...
Like, in a game or in real life, just let people be who they want to be.
Genuinely. And I think that those tweets are just a pure grift. And I'm partly to blame for... bringing that to people's attention and giving that person more of a platform. But it
also shows how ridiculous people are.
Yeah, but I'm like, they're probably just doing that for money. They're just doing it for the views because they know that the simple people that watch those and love these reactions and go, yeah, it's very brilliant. They're the people that give them, $10,000 a month from their views. So yeah, But anyway, character creation.
Yeah, how was that?
Great. It's really good. I made a really old man with a big mustache. In fact, he looked a little bit like Sam. We brought him up recently in the Star is Born and like a bunch of westerns. What's his name? Sam Tarry or something like that? Or, no, that's somebody else.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The guy with the mustache. Talks like this and I'm a cowboy. It's quite old. Grey hair, white hair, mustache. He's in the Star is Born. You know him. He's really famous.
Do I?
Yes. Isn't he called Sam? Sam Elliott.
Who?
You know Sam Elliott.
Show me his face.
100% you know him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's familiar.
I made him a little bit in kind of someone a bit like him in the game. It was meant to be Einstein, but we decided to make him a bit of a hot daddy, and he turned out to be Sam Elliott. And
coincidence?
I did that, and then the second my stream finished, I went and Googled how to change your appearance. And did that. And I changed my appearance. I've changed my... Well, pronouns stayed the same, but I changed my entire appearance into a young kind of Cal Kestis-esque from Star Wars, Jedi Survivor, and Fallen Order. He looks a bit like him, but with slightly less ginger hair.
Basic.
Yeah, well, I like basic. And, so I did that. I also changed his name. Like, you can change everything. You can't change their backstory because I guess that's affected... Obviously, that affects the game.
Yeah.
Which is weird because then I based his backstory as like this old hauler. Like that's my job, was a hauler for ages. But like if I had done it now, maybe I'd have been somebody else, a different, like a pirate. But maybe I'll save that for a second playthrough or whatever. But yeah, no, you can change your name, you can change your appearance. I wonder if changing your name and appearance does anything in the game, like if you've got bounties after you. I don't think so because it only costs you 500 credits. Otherwise, everybody would just keep doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so... Well, I don't know where I was going, but character customization, yeah, you can make a lot of cool characters. And somebody did come into the chat. I think it might have been Iona, was saying that there aren't many women, like female haircuts of hairstyles.
Oh, okay.
It's mainly male hairstyles in the game.
Oh,
which is
disappointing.
Yeah, maybe they looked at the people that play Bethesda games.
I'm really tempted to just play the opening start of it just to create a character, just because I want to see what the character creation looks like.
I like it. And you can make a hot character because some character creations and you look at it and go,
everyone's ugly.
The worst was GTA Online, I remember. I made a character in GTA Online and every single one looked like, maybe that was what it was meant to be like, but every character was just hideous.
I feel like the worst for that is actually Mass Effect.
Okay.
I have never seen a hot custom shepherd, male or female.
Okay.
Like the default ones both look brilliant. And I feel like custom ones, I tried to make one and he just ended up looking really ugly. And you'd make
Joysticks on Twitter if you want to send your pictures of your custom shepherds. Prove him wrong.
but also it's that thing where you can't change their appearance. So you'd start the game and think, yeah, okay, I think they look hot. And then you'd go into the actual game and see them in cutscenes and go, nope, restarting, do it all again. I did that about 5 times and then just gave up, being like, Shepard's ugly, deal with it.
Yeah, I was like that. I think it was Final Fantasy 14. The lips in the character creator are look a lot darker than they are in the real game. So I did it. I created my character, looked great, and then in the main game, he had like lipstick on.
Great.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to pay 2,000 credits or whatever it is to go and change this.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
any more questions? More questions.
My final question, because we don't want to spend the whole time on Starfield.
Well,
and this is...
we can do that later on, maybe, if we both played it.
Well, look, we probably will have both played it by next time, and this is maybe a question for next week. But one of the criticisms has been that the opening is really boring and that it only gets going after 12 hours. And that is disappointing to me because from the 3 other Bethesda games I've played, the openings are all really good. Skyrim starts with a massive dragon attack that's iconic. Fallout 3 starts with you as a baby, and it's you growing up in the vaults and deciding who your character is going to be, which is great. And then Fallout 4 starts with you before the actual... I mean,
I remember this.
Spoilers, but I mean, it's the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Before the Fallout, and you see the bomb, and you're like rushing to the vault to escape from it.
I remember that bit. That was bit that got me into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the openings are all really, really cool. Now, I saw the opening of Starfield, or a video of it, at Gamescom because they were showing it to the public. We got an early viewing as journalists. So I watched the beginning, so I know what it is. You start mining, and then you discover something, and then
you have a flash of the origin of the universe and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of it. And it just looked a bit meh and a bit grey and boring. And as everyone has said, like, it gets going the more you get into it and the further you get. Have you found that? Did you find this beginning boring? Have you found that it's got better over time?
I found that bit a little bit boring, but I had, like, you get other quests to do. Like, they start giving you a bunch of quests. So I've been following the main quest, but also I did that mining thing. So I've been doing it. I've been like doing a little bit of exploring at the same time that has kept it quite interesting, and then going to do the main quest when I've just been in the mood to do it. So there's another side. There was not even a side quest really. I went to get my appearance changed, and I started chatting to the guy, and it was like the 4th option of things to talk about. And I just mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh, it must be weird, like having people coming in here changing their appearance. How do you help, protect people's privacy?" And he's like, "Well, funny you should mention that. I've like lost a card with loads of people's data and everything, but it's fine." I'm like, "That doesn't sound fine at all."
Nope.
And he's like, I know. Actually, yeah, I'm really deep shit. And these are the places that I've been. And it was really close by. I just had a little wander around these 3 places. In the 2nd place, I found it, gave it back to him. And it was just like, and that was it. Like, I had some XP, actually. I think I leveled up from that. It wasn't, it was pretty generous. Just that kind of thing has made it not boring at all. It's just made it more realistic to kind of wander around and just get chatting with people.
The little mini stories.
Yeah, and there's loads of mini stories that you can just go and chat to people about. And every character is 3-dimensional and not just in, well, they're not, because you look at their face and it's like that, 2D. But like they've all got backstories from what I'm aware. Like obviously there's some will just be like citizen and they just have a quote. But a lot of the people, especially in like a random a random spaceport bar, like one of 3 bars, you'll start talking to the bar woman and she's like, "Oh yeah, I don't really do everything here. It's the owner who does it, who's the guy behind." And she starts talking about him, and then you can talk to him and he's a totally different personality. And it's, I don't know, just that kind of stuff I've really, really loved. And maybe I should, and maybe people can be like, "You need to play other Bethesda games because that's what they're like." And maybe I do, but it's, that kind of thing has made it much more entertaining for me. And there was one mission, like it's at the very beginning, so feel free, but it was terrifying. There was a beginning bit and people in the chat were watching it while I was streaming it and were like, "Is this Alien Isolation?" Because you needed to do 3 things. Or was it 4? You had to do 3 or 4 things in a facility at night to turn these lights on, while this giant apex predator thing is hunting you down at the same time.
Oh dear.
And it was like, I did it actually fine. It wasn't, and it's weird because you had to lure them into a place to be shot, but my weapons were doing more damage than these like turrets and stuff that were going on. So
save your ammo.
Yeah. But that was really terrifying. And there were people in the chat, I think, were like, this is like, it's become a horror game now. So that bit, and that was one of the main quests, because then it's like, how did this thing appear here? Why is it here? Why is it just randomly attacking this small place? And that's going to be part of a story that goes on and on and on, I guess. But I think at the beginning, it does start giving you some new companions. So you've got the missions associated with those companions that are a little bit slow at the start. There's one I've got to do, but I don't want to because I really don't like the companion. Well, I don't like the companion's kid. Because the kid was coming along and I'm like, well, my first question was, why are we bringing a kid aboard? This is a dangerous mission.
Yeah, fair.
And her dad got very upset at me and was like, how dare you say that?
Tough shit.
Yeah. And so I've got to go on a mission with him, or his like mission to get him on
the cowboy you want?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, slightly attractive.
Can you romance?
Probably.
But he's got a kid.
Well, she'll grow up and move out.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I wonder if you could like remove the kid from the equation. Leave them somewhere.
I don't think the game would allow you to do that.
No, that's true. That's true. Everybody would dislike that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there's accidents happen.
Wow,
in the game.
Wow, Ben, we've got to killing children now, have we?
No, I didn't. I just said like leaving them on a planet or something.
Okay, sure.
Because does she count as an
Leave
extra?
her in an orphanage.
Does she count? I don't think she counts as an extra character. Maybe she grows up and then later, becomes good. Anyway, but yeah, that's that. Any more questions? But like, so far, I wouldn't say, for me, it's not been that boring.
Okay.
It's not been completely wow, like, oh, this is a roller coaster, like some games are, like Prey, or you said like Fallout 4, or other games that just completely wow you immediately at the start. It's not got one of those, which is a little bit disappointing. But then sometimes if you have that and then it's a bit of a lull, you feel a bit meh. So it's not had that yet.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling on Bethesda games is that they're really good at making worlds and then filling those worlds with small stories and discoveries.
Which is fun.
But I feel like they struggle with giving you a purpose to be in that world, i.e. the main quest's a bit shit. So I'm remembering, for instance, Fallout 3, and the main quest for that isn't actually that long. And I mean, I'll spoil it for you. The story basically is about creating fresh water. And so all you do is go through a handful of missions. Like you're on a quest to follow your dad, but it turns out your dad's found some technology to purify water. And so you then have to basically just purify the water supply in order to live. And that's the story. And it's a bit like, okay. But then if you just wander off, you'll like discover a building, and then inside the building is a vault, and then you go into the vault and like everyone's dead, and you're like, why is everyone dead? And it's the environmental storytelling of doing that. That I think is where they excel, is those sorts of short stories and environmental storytelling and creating a compelling world.
And that's what they're doing for me so far.
Which is cool. I guess my worry with Starfield is that how do you contain that kind of storytelling when it's in space?
Because spread across 1,000 planets. Yeah.
It's spread out. There's, I guess, these pre-rendered planets versus the handcrafted ones. How do you balance that kind of content and make it compelling and sort of tightly knit enough, but also broad enough that it still represents space? Yeah. And I think maybe that has been their challenge in creating it. And for me, when I come to play it, that's going to be my sort of litmus test, I guess, is understanding if they've managed to achieve that.
But it's also a game where you can just completely relax, and you don't necessarily have to go into these places and have a in-depth story. You can go and just do some exploration. Go to a random planet, which I did actually. In fact, that's where I found the merchant ship, because I was about to go and I was like, I'm just going to go and discover it and stick a beacon down, because that's one of my activities that I have to do. But also you can go to these planets, and the ones that you can land on, you can just do some like research, and you can scan. So you scan the different animals, scan the biomes, and you scan the materials that are there, the resources. So you go and scan those, and then you get these like plates, or whatever they're called, like scanning module plates, and then or whatever they're called, scanning reports, and then you can sell them to Vladimir, and then you can go and give them to him to sell. So you can go just go and do that, and that gets you some credits. Didn't give me as many as I thought it would, so I don't know if I'm going to do that a lot, but it's also good because you go onto these planets and you get resources. That'll then help you in various ways. Okay. So yeah, because like one of the mining things I had to do, and the reason why it took a little bit longer for a few hours, was I needed to get 10 chunks of iron. So I'm like, okay, go and find a planet, go and scan a planet. Where's the iron on this planet? Because it'll tell you, like, in this location, there's a lot of iron. So you go there, and then you can just go and wander and try and find some. And then while I'm there, I'm scanning the animals. There's some that are hostile, some that aren't. There's plants. There are areas that will, and then there's like the odd cave that will just be like unexplored cave, which I've been in one. I don't think there was anything in there that killed me, but it was quite pretty in it, and there was a chest. So they're just these like little things that you can come across, but I think those mini stories and stuff might be at the places that they know people are going to visit.
Yeah, exactly. So this is you for a little while?
I think so, yeah. I'm going to be definitely streaming some later today, which is because we're recording this on Sunday. And probably, yeah, it's going to be one of those games I just pick up and play a little bit. And I'm used to it now on Xbox, because normally a first-person shooter does not do anything for me. Like on a console with a controller, I don't find that easy. But I've actually been okay with it. It just took a little bit of time. And I've switched it down to easy, which makes it a lot less stressful. And you can also play it in third person as well.
Which I will probably do because they don't run as well, but at least you get to look at your character.
Yeah.
That you spent hours
The thing is, when
making.
you're in third person, when you're in quite a closely confined space, like the mining area on Mars where I was, it puts you really close to the camera, even if you've got the furthest out version of the third person. So I found myself being like, my character is taking up half of the screen because I'm running up these stairs, which are quite close. So I think it's first person might be good in like settlements and things. But if you want to do third person when you're out exploring, that probably makes sense.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it a go. I think within the next week.
Also, get your boost in early, because I didn't. And one of the things. So I think you get a boost power, or you get
like
a boost
sort
pack.
of gravity, like jetpack thing.
Yeah, a jetpack kind of boost. And I think you then have to enable, but you get it, and then you have to enable it in a skill. You have to unlock it with a skill, which I didn't for a little while. I think I was like level 8 when I did it, and I was like, oh, actually, this is really useful. Okay. I wasn't having problems like
top tip there.
I wasn't having problems like with platforming or anything, but just having that little extra boost when you're jumping just gives you a bit more distance and a bit more speed, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a little test in the next week because I want to create a character. I want to see what that's like, and maybe play through the opening. But I feel like I might just put it on the back burner for a little while. I feel like because it's such a big game, I want to immerse myself in it when I've got time. And right now, I've got about 8 games on the go, which are mostly long RPGs, and I do not have time to start another one right now. So I might come back to it later. Yeah,
because I've also, speaking of RPGs, moving on from Starfield, I've been playing a little bit of Sea of Stars. However, you have been playing a lot of Sea of Stars.
I was going to say, I have been playing another RPG with Star in the name.
Let me know. So it's got 15 notifications. I think it's from that Starfield person.
We're just recording.
No, I want to make sure that I'm not being...
you're not missing anything major right now.
I'm not getting people... Yeah. Just getting...
Is it positive press?
Well, no, I don't want to be like someone's calling me at like some random big account as shit on me and I'm now needing to lock my account. No, it's actually... the divorce must be going well for him. For the guy that was, losing his shit. But yeah, that's... Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Are you ready, man?
Where was I? Yeah, you keep going.
Where was I?
Yeah, where were you?
You were meant to be listening.
Sorry, I'm listening now.
Sea of Stars. Another RPG with Star in the name.
Sea of Stars.
No, let's not sing that. Some might say the superior RPG with Star in the name, but I couldn't possibly say that because I haven't played Starfield.
No, that's Stardew.
Wow. Sea of Stars is a retro style RPG. It is 16-bit pixel art, and it's just pure comfort. It is nostalgia. It's stunning. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm a big RPG fan. I've played quite a few older RPGs from that era, and this is just cherry picking all the best bits. It's bits of Mario RPG, it's bits of Chrono Trigger, it's bits of old Final Fantasy, it's bits of old Zelda. It's just all of those games put together as one, and I love that. And that does make it, on the one hand, a little bit derivative, and it makes it very stereotypical in terms of its setting, its characters, what it's doing. But I sort of love that about it. It's not trying to be super original. It's trying to appeal to people's nostalgia, and it absolutely does, because it's just done so well. It is literally the best bits from those games put together, which I love. The story is about these two, I guess, twins, but not really, solstice warriors. The guy is the sun and the girl is the moon, and they have different magic relating to the sun and the moon. They have companions with them. They go on a big journey, RPG quest thing. The world is these different islands in a sea. Funny that. And there's lots of stuff about the sun and the moon and the eclipse, and that's where magic comes from and things like that. I'll be honest, the story did immediately grip me because I was interested in the concept. The more I play it, the more I'm seeing some limitations to it, I will say. Literally the first couple of hours I was like, I'm obsessed with this. This is potentially one of my games of the year. I'm obsessed. And I feel like the story is actually moving quite slowly, which is worrying me considering I think it's only about 20 odd hours long and I'm currently about 12 hours in. And the story is not moving as quickly as I would like it to, which worries me that I feel like there's actually not as much to it as I would like there to be. I'm worried a little bit about pacing and a little bit about balance. It's really, really easy as a game, and then it will suddenly throw a really hard encounter at you. But that encounter will be just a random... Well, they're not random encounters because you can see them in the world, but it will be a regular encounter that will suddenly be really difficult.
We've got like 4 enemies out of nowhere.
Yeah, but so it has this interesting little break system in the combat. I guess I'll explain the combat system. It's turn-based. And like Mario RPG, you have to hit the different button prompts to do extra damage. So just as you're about to hit, you press a button to do extra damage.
Yeah.
Or when you're about to be hit, you can do that to defend. And then there are different versions of that for special attacks, like holding down a button and things like that. So it works like a Mario RPG game, which is really fun. Then there's a break system. So at certain points, an enemy will be building up to a big attack. And then it comes up with certain symbols which relate to different types of attack or different types of magic. And if you hit them with those, with that combination...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be...
It breaks the attack.
It doesn't have to be that order, though, does it?
No. It can be any order.
I was like, great.
Because you can choose the order that you attack with your characters. So you have to break them as long as you're hitting them with those attacks within the time limit of the number of turns. You break them and it stops the attack. But it feels like it's quite random as to when those pop up and what they will be. And some enemies have some really strong attacks. And if you're not very careful, you can get your party wiped out quite easily in just a regular battle, which is really frustrating to me when the rest of the game is really easy. Like, I'll talk about another game in a minute that is very difficult. But when I know a game is going to be difficult, I don't mind being beaten, even though it's frustrating. When a game is easy and I'm like sailing through it and then I suddenly get stuck, that frustrates me 10 times more.
Chained Echoes.
Yeah, all this.
But you're stuck at the moment?
No. But then I've done bosses and the bosses have been really easy. And I'm like, these are meant to be like climactic moments. And I feel like I've sailed through them a bit. So I feel like the balance isn't quite right. And I feel like the pacing isn't quite right in that the story feels quite slow. But I feel like I've actually explored quite a lot of the world already. And the areas you go to can be quite long. So you will go through a dungeon area or just a regular area doing battle and exploring. It feels like it's a little bit dragged out. It's still really fun. The environments are beautiful. I am obsessed with the music.
Oh my God. You were playing it and I was in here. I think I can't remember what I was playing or doing, but I was just listening to the music, and it's a level up music is the best, isn't it?
Oh, the level up music is an absolute bop. Some of the music, not all of it, but some of it is written by the composer of Chrono Trigger. So that's also why it's good, because Chrono Trigger has incredible music.
But it's like old school, it's like old fashioned music. Yeah,
it's like
just
chiptune music.
Yeah, chiptune, but I don't know, it's just very
So
unique.
catchy.
But it's unique to Sea of Stars. Like, you know that's Sea of Stars, even though it is all chiptune. It feels very, very kind of magical, kind of otherworldly stars. Yeah.
It's very melodic based, so it's very, very, very catchy tunes. And yeah, the level up music is a bob. So yeah, it's got all the stuff that I absolutely like. I just think that the more I play it, the more I feel like some bits were a bit dragged out. And essentially, I think it's so good that I could easily play this for 100 hours and be obsessed with it. but it's about 20, and I'm just a bit concerned that it's a bit shorter than I'd like, and that the story isn't quite going to the places that I thought it might, which is maybe a touch disappointing. But I've heard that it still has like super bosses and secrets and side quests. I just haven't unlocked a lot of that at the point that I'm at. So maybe the world will open up a bit.
Don't worry about what's gonna happen. Just
enjoy the ride, and I am massively enjoying it. It is genuinely a phenomenal game. If you like RPGs, and especially if you grew up playing RPGs, you have to play this game. And it's on Game Pass. It's on PS Plus. I think this is the first game ever to be released simultaneously day one on PS Plus and Game Pass. I'm playing it on Switch. It's also on PC. It probably runs really well on a Steam Deck, I imagine.
I think it is.
It's quite dark. The visuals are great, but it's quite dark. And I was getting annoyed because even on the TV screen, I was struggling to see things. And then I realized you can up the brightness in the options. So it's actually not a problem at all.
Good.
But yeah, Sea of Stars, it's genuinely a really phenomenal game.
Also, our TV adjusts.
Probably.
So yeah, it might have had an effect.
So yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm going to try and finish it in the next week because I'd really like to tick off a game. I've started so many games recently that are all really long RPGs.
Yeah, we need to tick off games that we might be talking about in our Game of the Year podcast.
Yeah.
Like the end. And I think Sea of Stars will be there. I think Starfield might be up there if it continues like it is.
So for me, I've had like Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Octopath Traveler, all 100-hour RPGs. Sea of Stars is a much more concise experience. So I kind of just want to push through it and tick it off and be done with it. Not to get it out the way, but also to get it out the way. But I'm loving it. So I want to finish it. So I will hopefully give you next week a final verdict.
Good.
We will see.
And I'll be playing it as well at some point, so it will be a spoiler-free verdict.
There we go.
By the way, first thing I just totally forgot to mention in Starfield, before we move on to a difficult game you're playing, the voice acting is brilliant. I was talking about all the characters and stuff, and all that. The writing is brilliant, but the voice acting is like absolutely stellar. And it's pretty much a who's who of incredible voice actors as well. It's Tommy Earl Jones. I think one of them is in Men in Black and the other one isn't.
Tommy Earl Jones is in Men in Black.
It's Jenkins. I think it's Tommy Earl Jenkins. My God, what does he play? I think he is in a few other. Well, if I type in voice actors Starfield, one of my favorite is the person who plays Sarah. Now Sarah, she plays Emily. She's called, her real name she goes by is Emily O'Brien. She plays Sarah Morgan. She is the voice actor behind Ishtola in the A Realm Reborn Final Fantasy XIV before they changed all the voice actors for the expansions. So she's in Final Fantasy XIV as Ishtola, and she's also Amelie and young Bridget in Death Stranding, one of my favorite games.
Who are your favourites?
I was like, you know what? You are incredible. But she's in there, but also there's who's Damien Haas? Right. One second, let me go for. There's another person. Wait, who is? I don't want to say someone's name and it's not them.
I love speaking in sentences.
I don't know. I can't read and do these things. I'm pretty sure Tommy. Maybe he's a secret character. Wait, Adoring Fan is played by someone. I'm trying to look at the people that we'd recognize, but I can't find right now. So where is Tommy? Because he was definitely in one of them, and he is the voice in, because he's been popping into people's streams that were playing a certain game, and I can't remember what it was because he plays a major character. 1 second.
You've had a few.
Yeah, well, tell us something interesting.
Well, shall I speak about another game and we'll come back to this once you've done some research?
No, because I'm going to find it now.
Okay.
It is Tommy Earl Jenkins.
You were right.
And Tommy Earl Jenkins plays someone called Aaron Scott. And I don't know if I've got to them yet. But yeah, Tommy Earl Jenkins.
So this really famous person that you can't quite remember the name plays a character that you haven't met yet. But some people might consider this a who's who of voice acting.
Oh, God. He's Die Hardman in Death Stranding. That's where I know him from. Of course he is.
So it's basically just the Death Stranding cast in Starfield.
I think that's why I love it. I think that's why I'm really
there we
like
go.
it.
We've worked it out, everyone.
Is anybody else? It's not Nolan North in there, is it? It's the other one, the tall one, the one that you met.
Oh, Troy Baker.
Troy Baker, yeah. It's always Troy Baker or Nolan North. They're like the same.
Oh, he's probably
person.
in Starfield somewhere.
I'm sure he is. If Troy Baker's in there, then it's like, I need to hunt down all the Death Stranding.
What isn't he in?
I need a ship that's just full of Death Stranding characters.
Oh, right. Game of the year.
I'm not even joking.
I am very much joking.
Yeah, the voice acting is phenomenal, especially Lucy O'Brien. Lucy O'Brien? So I said, yeah. I'm the worst with names.
I don't think you did say that, but there we go. Anyway.
Sarah, the voice actor for Sarah, brilliant.
I've played a different game this week. So basically, we went to Gamescom last week, and then I came back, and I had 2 games waiting for me, both of which are giving me retro vibes in slightly different ways. So we've had Sea of Stars was one, and the other one is Armored Core 6. Now, I've never played an Armored Core game before, so this is my first, but Armored Core is a really old From Software series that they made way before Dark Souls. So this is a return to this old series now that they're big and famous. So this is giving Armored Core way more press and way more attention than it would have had previously because of Dark Souls and Elden Ring and everything else. And people have been basically saying, is this going to be a Souls-like game? It's absolutely not a Souls-like game. I can categorically tell you that now. It's still really, really fucking hard.
I heard.
Also true. It is a mech game. So you have your armored core, which is your mech, which you can customize a lot, and you go out into sorties missions, and you shoot a lot of other mechs, and that's the game.
Is there a person?
It's really hard.
Is there a person inside the mech?
There is. You are a person inside the mech.
Okay.
Controlling it, and it's sort of giving me PS2 vibes, and for a couple of reasons. Partly because, like I said, this is my first Armored Core game, but it originated on PS1. There were quite a few on PS2, and then it's come out on 3 and
there are so many of them, aren't there?
So many Armored Core games. This is only the 6th main line, but each one of those main games has then had direct sequels and spin-offs. So each of the mainline games is almost like a reboot of the series in a way, from what I understand. I might be wrong, from what I understand. So because we've had quite a few PS2 Armored Core games, this to me feels very PS2 with a lick of paint, which to me gives the impression that it is very authentic to the rest of the series. I think it plays very similarly to previous games. And part of that is because it's just very, very minimalist. Everything is done through menus. So the story, there are very few cutscenes as such. The cutscenes is just you flying off to go to a mission. That's literally it. Other than that, all the story is just done through messages. It's just a voiceover on top of a menu. And you customize your mech through a menu. You go to a menu to choose your mission. You get given a briefing, which is just someone talking over a menu. And then you go to your mission. And some of the missions are literally 2 minutes long. Some of them are 10 minutes if there's a boss.
I was about to say, because in the original ones, they didn't have bosses, did they?
I think they might have had sort of boss encounters, but not in the way that this game does it. So it's essentially just, it's mission-based. It's not a big open world. It's mission-based, lots and lots of short missions, which seem to reuse a lot of assets. It does look quite pretty.
Yeah.
And there are certain moments where the lighting kicks in. You're like, okay, this is a really good-looking game. But I feel like it's very samey. It's lots of mining facilities and metal and snow, and it's everything about the game is cold and clinical, which sort of means it lacks a bit of soul, but that's also the point. See what I did there? But that's also the point because it's a mech game and it's about robots. So it feels that is the style.
It feels like it
game.
knows its style very well.
So it's not cold and clinical in a boring, there's not enough heart to this game. It's done in a way that this is the point of the game because it's just you in this cold, desolate world with these different I can barely understand the story, I'll be honest, because it's very much tell don't show when it should be show don't tell. So it's just telling you what the story is without giving you cutscenes and explaining things. So it's just constantly telling you, like, there are these different warring factions and warring corporations that sell you different mech parts, and then you go and destroy people from them. And it's just all very cold and clinical. But you can also ignore all of that and just enjoy the combat. And the combat is fucking brilliant because it's a FromSoft game. So of course they know how to do combat. It's not Soulsy, but there are elements of Soulsy type stuff in there. So the combat director in this game also did the combat in Sekiro. So that has had a bit of an influence in the sense of there is a stagger meter. So the more that you stagger enemies, it builds up the meter, and then they become staggered, and then they take double damage. So a lot of the combat is around working out which weapons will stagger your enemies, or the bosses at least, the quickest, so that you can then do loads of damage. They've also added in melee swords. You also have shields, so you can literally use the sword and shield with it if you really want. I haven't used a shield because I want to be quick. I want to fly around. Swords are really, really powerful in this game. So a lot of it is around using your missiles and guns to stagger enemies, and then you can click in the left stick to dive in forwards and then swipe them with a sword swipe. And that's a really good strategy in general.
Do you do that accidentally? Because I'm somebody that grips the controller quite tightly.
It's quite easy to do that.
Yeah, I saw somebody else was like, they're a tight gripper.
Yeah.
And they're just screwing up all the time.
People have moaned about that. But if you're at quite a big distance away from an enemy, you can click the stick and you go shooting forwards, and then you can flick left and right. So it's like you're flying, bam, 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 dodge, smack. Which feels so good to do.
Was it Kenner that did that? If you pushed in the stick, it slammed down? Because I swear I
did not play enough of that game to tell you.
I swear that's one of the reasons why I kept dying constantly on this parkour bit at the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's blame the controls. So it's got that element, which is essentially from Sekiro, and that adds a little bit of soulsiness to it. But it's all about flying around all over the place. You know, your mech can fly as long as you've got energy. So it's about, there's a lot of management in this game, which at first feels very overwhelming. And then once it clicks, it becomes second nature. So you are managing your energy, you're managing your health, obviously. You're managing your energy, which is how much you can boost, which is almost like your stamina, I guess, in a way, in a Souls game. So you can hover up in the air to fly great distances, or you can boost to dodge around enemies. But if you just keep doing that, you'll run out of energy. You can also be staggered yourself, so you've got to make sure you're not taking too many hits at once. And then you've got to manage your ammo and your reloading. So the way you can customize your ship in tons of ways. It's your 4 weapons, which relate to the 4 shoulder buttons. So R1, R2, L1, L2, and you get different weapon types on those. So essentially R2 and L2, I did that the other way if you're watching, are your left and right hands. And then the bumper buttons are your shoulders. So your hands tend to be guns, shields, swords, and your shoulders tend to be like missile weapons and lock-on plasma things and whatever else. And there are different ammo types. So some are laser weapons, some are plasma, some are bombs, and they do different types of damage. So you have to work out which weapons you want to use against the enemies and in what combination. And then they all have different reload times, which you can think of like a cooldown. So if you think of it like you would in, say, Final Fantasy XIV, you've got your different attacks and magic attacks. They're all on a cooldown. This essentially works the same way. It's just that it's reloading rather than a cooldown. So you've got to work out, well, what's the best timing to use a weapon so that you can stagger it effectively, but then not, you're not waiting on a cooldown before you then, once they're staggered. And then you can manage your feet, your legs, and there's different types. So do you want like treads, like a tank, or do you want 4 legs or 2 lightweight legs? Do you want big shoulders to carry more weapons, but then you're heavier? What kind of core do you want, which manages your energy?
I saw somebody refer to it as less like a skill-based game and more of like a loadout game.
Yeah, it's about builds. Customizing your mech is a huge part of this, and in some ways that's a bit of a relief, because I think that's a big way that this differentiates itself from Souls games. So Souls games, you choose your class at the beginning, and that kind of dictates your play style. You can obviously choose different weapons, and you can change your stats, and you can change things up along the way, but ultimately it's dictating, Are you more of a melee build, and is that fast or tanky, or are you more magic? And that will determine how you approach bosses. And so therefore it becomes a case of your skill to beat the boss in terms of understanding patterns and understanding your class and how to play as that class. Armored Core, you can change all that up all the time purely by the parts that you have. So you can literally switch between tread legs or lightweight legs, and that will determine, are you slow and tanky or are you really quick and dodgy? And that's just changing one part. So you can constantly mix and match all your parts together to change your strategy.
And because there's no leveling, is there? There's no like grinding for leveling to get like extra HP.
There's no leveling, but you get money at the end of a mission. So every mission will have a certain amount of base pay, and then depending on how many enemies you kill, you will get more pay because it's, you know, rewarding you for killing more enemies. But that also means that you expend more ammo, and maybe you risk dying more and you use more health items, and that will then deduct from your pay. So the idea is you have to complete the missions by killing as many enemies with as little ammo as you can, and by dying as little as possible, to get as much money. But you can replay old missions to get more money. And if you do that with better weapons, you're more likely to get more pay. So essentially you can grind for money, which allows you to buy more parts, which then gives you more options. So then when you get to a boss, which, as you said, there is definitely skill involved. There is skill in understanding the patterns and dodging at the right time and shooting at the right time, all of that. But you can massively change your chances by changing your build. And you want to have as many different parts as possible that you've bought so you can change up your loadout. So people have found this game really, really hard. And I have also struggled with it. There are a couple of bosses that have been really notorious. The first boss at the end of the first level is fucking hard.
Part of me wants to play just that to see if I can do it.
But the thing is, in typical Soulsy From Software fashion, the reason it's hard is to teach you the basics, because once you understand that, you understand how to play the game. So the reason it's hard is because it's this helicopter that's flying around and it shoots like machine gun fire at you, which you can dodge by boosting to the side, and then it fires missiles at you. And the way to dodge missiles is to fly up in the air, because they explode on the ground, but then it's a wider sort of
blast radius.
Blast radius, exactly. So if you're hovering up in the ground, you dodge it. Yeah. So you have to understand when to dodge missiles and when to dodge guns. And then you have to do the shooting forwards things for a melee attack. You have to time that right. Once you nail those three things, that boss is actually a piece of piss. It's teaching you
Interesting.
There's another boss later on that's really difficult, which I managed to get through after maybe 6 or 7 goes.
Is that
the one with like, it shoots like this huge spread of missiles. But again, that is about timing your dive move at the right time to dodge those attacks. But it's also about, it has a shield. So that's about teaching you weapon types and ammo types. Because once you get plasma weapons, you realize, oh, I can get rid of the shield really
That's
quickly.
what I was going to ask. So you can grind to get money and stuff. Do like certain weapons unlock after certain levels, or are you available? Is it straight right from the start? Could you just grind the same mission and get the best weapon possible?
No. So the shop gradually unlocks with different things as you go through the main missions. So it will give you a certain number of things, and then after like a major mission, it will then unlock more of the shop.
Okay.
And then you can grind to then buy everything in the shop, which will take you a while. But the idea is it's giving you more and more options as you go. And it will probably give you a weapon that is going to be useful against a boss you're about to do. So it's about understanding that and getting through builds. So you watched me yesterday do the Sea Spider. Eventually. Which took a good couple of hours for me to get through. And that's because I thought I had a good build. And I was slowly getting closer and closer and was learning the patterns of the boss. And I understood I needed to be quick. I needed the right timing. And I got all that down. It just wasn't quite doing enough damage quickly enough. So then once I got the right weapon, or at least I changed to a different weapon, with my strategy and then a different build, together, I kicked the boss's ass. But it just took time to understand what's the right build, how do I learn the patterns and build up that skill level. So I absolutely love it. Having witted on for however long, I really, really love this game. It looks cool. When it's hard, But once you understand what the game is trying to teach you, and once you nail the combat, it feels great to finally do a boss. It feels great to actually nail that. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that was what we've been playing. Should we see what other people have been playing? Because we have gone on a little bit longer than...
I know, this was meant to be a bit shorter.
Well, we'll try and whiz through this because there aren't that many people.
We're already over an hour.
Oh, hour and 15.
Jeez.
So, but I mean, we had 3 big games to talk about, so it makes sense.
We did.
But I mean, what people have been playing, are you going to bring it up on yours? It was on the 25th.
Oh, you've got it up on
It was a little while ago that we asked
this.
I'll
just read it off the screen then.
Go and do that then.
So we start with Riley. I started playing more Ocarina of Time randomizers. Last weekend, I tried an entrance randomizer. What does that do?
No idea.
Interesting. But that was terrible and I quit. So maybe let's not try that. Now I set up a Triforce hunt, which has been an absolute blast. Highly recommend giving it a try. Randomizers are great because they give a new spin on a favorite game. I also was inspired by Ben to start a new playthrough of Stardew Valley, which you were playing a couple of weeks ago.
I was, and I will get back to it. I am going to be playing some... In fact, I'll be back on it on Tuesday.
Nice. I'm only a few days in, but loving it again. I need to find some good mods to put into it.
Yeah,
will you be playing with mods?
Not this time, but maybe like on the second year or so. I don't know. I'm just loving having the base game there. I will be adding a mod for the fishing. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay.
Because I do not like the fishing in that game.
I quite like the fishing.
You got to like balance it so it's going in there and it goes. No, because you'll get really, really close and then it'll start behaving erratically and it'll drop down to 0 again. I'm like, no. Waste my time.
Linny
Speaking
Lavey.
of fishing, what do you think of the fishing in Sea of Stars? Because you got upset, didn't you, yesterday? I heard a moan or a groan at something. I thought you were fighting a boss, then I looked and you were just fishing.
I was just fishing, yeah. Well, there are fishing creeks around the world, and there's a sign next to it which are blanked out and will tell you the types of fish there. Yeah. So I'm going around... I mean, I'm playing on Switch. There aren't trophies. I imagine there's probably a trophy or an achievement for collecting every type of fish. Yeah. So I'm just trying to do every type in every creek, basically. It's all right. There's like a channel of water, and you have to reel them in when the fish is in that channel, and you've got to steer it into that channel. And sometimes they jump in the air, and you can stun them. But then sometimes you get really, really close, and then the thing snaps, and it's a bit annoying.
I love how
it's not too bad though.
I love how every game has such a different fishing game. Like every single game is completely different.
Like, how do you come up with a different way of fishing in a game?
I mean, but they all managed to do it. Like Fae Farm, that's another game I've been playing. Apparently because I've had early access, apparently there's no carryover to the main game, so I've got to restart it again.
That's annoying.
But it's fine. I only played it for maybe 4 hours or so, which I will do. I didn't talk about that today. Maybe I'll talk about that later on because I'm probably going to play it again. Although those kind of games, I'm like, these are great. Just want to play more Stardew now. But I think the one that will replace Stardew for me, or at least be a big game, is Coral Island. Yeah. Whenever that finishes. Early access.
Linny Lavey, I started the mobile game Tower of God New Worlds. Typical gacha game. Apparently it's based off an anime, and I didn't realise it.
Yeah, Tower of God I've heard of.
Never heard of it. Diver Cat, I played Moving Out 2 with a friend, and it's pretty fun. It's truly multiplayer now, which is great. I think I need to play controller to better control the characters. The PC controls aren't the best, but it's as fun as the original with the story and things you can do expanded dramatically with some very challenging levels and some frustrating levels as well. I'd recommend it.
Cool. All right.
Neuroxen says, Core Blimey, Armored Core 6 is hard.
It is.
Hopefully I've given you some tips.
Hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, that was it. I think it was like a week ago. So thank you for people. I don't think we mentioned that last time. No, we didn't, because we just had the Gamescom only special, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
But yeah. What's happening in the news? Let's go quickly through the news.
Let's go through the news. Let me get it up on my phone. So, firstly, this is a story from yesterday, and I didn't write it, so I need to actually read it as I go. But SAG-AFTRA votes unanimously to expand its strike to include the games industry. So obviously this is the American Actors Union, which is striking, as we all know, I'm sure, which has affected a lot of TV and movie stuff at the moment, which have all stopped filming. It looks like this now is the games industry, which it should be, because games voiceover artists should be treated the same as everyone else.
Especially with the rise of AI.
Well, exactly. I also feel like voice actors in games are becoming a lot more known. I think for a long time it's been...
Troy Baker, Nolan North. That's all we know.
Well, yeah, that's all
Jane
we know.
Perry.
But yeah, I think for a lot of time it's just people play games and they don't really consider the actors. And I think now actors are becoming a lot more visible. Even like, obviously our best friend Ben Starr has been doing the most.
But also you got to remember as well, games didn't used to have voice actors. It's quite a relatively new to the PS3, 4 era.
Yeah, also true.
Mainly.
Even like Baldur's Gate
2 actually. Sorry.
Baldur's Gate, the voice actors are all over TikTok. I mean, you love to see it. Promote that game. Get your stardom. Go for it.
But it's great because there's some people that I'm gonna remember her name again. I want to say Lucy O'Brien, but I feel like that might be another.
I'm pretty sure that's a journalist.
Oh, maybe it is. What's it called? Starfield. Emily O'Brien. Brian. I think it's Brian. So Emily O'Brien. I had a look and I'm like, oh, she's really like recognizable. She's got all these roles. The vast majority of her roles are in video games. Like video games are not for actors to do something a little extra. There are people. There's like, oh my god, our other friend from Final Fantasy 16, who plays Barnabas,
David Mencken.
He's like the amount of roles he's got in games. He's a massive character, massive actor in voice acting for video games. People are having their entire careers and having good, successful, hopefully very lucrative careers just from video game voice acting, which I feel like when it was the PS2, PS3 era, it was a bit of an afterthought whether somebody was they weren't sure, I think, of what the voice acting was expected to be. I
think gaming has progressed so much that it's not something you do on the side of, oh, I'm a movie star and I'll just do an extra game for a bit of money. It's a conceivable career, a viable career to just do video games. And I think it's also quite a small world, so that once you do one thing, I think it's quite, well, I say this, I have no fucking clue, but you tend to see the same people doing lots of roles. So I think it's a sort of smaller world, but it's expanding with more and more actors just focusing on that. And there are so many opportunities in that. If you can't do, there's only so many movies being made, so many TV shows, so much theatre that can be done, that there are so many games being made. There are loads of opportunities to do voice acting. So it is great the voice acting is growing in that area, but look after them and keep them in the union and pay them and do all the good stuff.
And it is a relatively new industry. I mean, you think of how long theatre actors have been around, film actors have been around. Video game actors is relatively new.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it'll be interesting. And I think there is a bit of drama coming because I've already seen people tweeting saying that if certain companies are on strike or people are striking because of certain companies, then people should not be streaming those games. And I just hope that doesn't turn into some kind of righteous bitch fest and kind of, I don't know. All I'm saying is that when it's that kind of stuff, you do what you want. Send out your information, send out what you think. You can put on Twitter and stuff like, this is the information, this is why I'm striking, and it's why I encourage you to as well. But you just know that there can be a lot of people whose livelihoods are based on certain games that get paid ad hoc. And I know that you're going to be like, well, so are actors as well, and they're going to be taking a cut. But a lot of streamers who maybe only stream and that is their income, they cannot like switch games. So I just hope people, if this does happen, I just hope people are not going to be really shitty to those who can't afford to do it.
Yeah. And just reading from the article as well, key issues up for negotiation include pay and conditions, which is similar to films and TV, but also protections against unrestrained use of artificial intelligence, specifically the impact upon performance capture artists. So I think AI is a, as I've written about, is a major area for video game voice acting, which it isn't in other areas. So that is something unique to this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just playing Starfield now, I'm guessing none of that is AI yet. But like going into those, I'm like, I cannot imagine AI being able to kind of portray or use somebody's voice and make it as impressive as a lot of those actors are. Like I can't see that even be possible.
Yeah. And the knock-on of this is something I think we probably won't see for another year, because obviously so many games out now, the voice acting is all done. So with voice actors striking now, that's going to be impacting games in a year's time, probably. So we will have to wait and see what the impact is in terms of
even ask
the knock-on.
A future interview about it.
We could. Interesting. Some more fun news elsewhere. There's another DLC coming to Power Wash Simulator based on Back to the Future.
My favourite film.
Is it?
I've never seen it.
Great.
I've seen a bit of it, actually.
That's the thing. I'll be honest. I don't think I've sat and watched Back to the Future. I'm sure I've seen bits of it when it's been on TV. I don't think I've actually just
we should go
sat
to the
and watched
musical.
it.
Apparently, it's actually really good.
Well, maybe we should. But maybe we need to watch the film first.
Yeah.
What you'll be cleaning includes, obviously, the DeLorean, the time machine.
Okay.
You can't not have that. But additionally, Doc's van, Hill Valley Clock Tower, the Holomax Theatre, and Doc's Time Train.
I feel like I would. I've seen, like I said, about half of it, so I kind of know the story, and it's quite interesting. And doesn't he fall in love with his mum?
Wow.
Something like that.
There's some sort of weird incestuous thing.
Yeah.
Or vaguely incestuous, I think. I actually can't remember.
It's the 80s.
Yep. Good one.
Was it? Yeah.
Anyway, if you want more Power Wash, that is coming. What DLC would you like to see in Power Wash?
I would like to see. Oh, can't just throw that at me.
Well, I can, and I did.
I'd like to see some. I'd like to see some landmarks, but they're going to be huge, so maybe not.
Oh, like real life landmarks.
Real life landmarks.
That could be fun, like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, but to scale.
To scale.
Yeah,
Wow.
you have to spend forever doing those. Yeah, just something like cool, like even maybe smaller, maybe a little model village or something. I don't know, actually, based on what games. Probably like a Star Wars one would be cool.
Star Wars would be really cool. I think if they did another game, I'd love to see Mass Effect, because I think you could spray the Normandy, you could spray the Mako.
Mako. Yeah, I think it is Mako, actually,
the little
isn't it?
mech thing.
Oh,
the little car thing.
Oh, I'm not sure. I can't
remember what it's called. It's been so long. But like that for me lends itself to Power Wash. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I can't, like, none of the games that I'm really in love with are kind of relate to Power Wash or like have iconic objects.
Yeah.
Mario Kart. Clean the carts.
Cleaning the cars.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Starfield, which technically isn't out properly yet. Because it comes out properly on Wednesday.
I paid
on Game Plus.
Yes, I didn't get a streamer key, creator key.
How dare you, whoever is in charge of that?
Which is weird because now but it's good because then I can stream it, but I don't need to put the ad or gifted or anything like that.
You don't have to pretend to like it like everyone else.
Well, I don't. I would never do that. You know, I've been gifted keys. I was given a key for the latest Rune Factory and could not hide my boredom of that. So you can actually, now the thing is, if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, or if you've just got Game Pass, you can upgrade to the premium edition of Starfield for like £32 or £31, which is, for me, I think has been a very decent offer. And I've had Game Pass Ultimate, like the top level of Game Pass since it came out, and I don't think I'll ever.
You've paid your dues.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm not going to stop it anytime soon, so may as well just get the upgrade. Because I think now if I cancel Game Pass, I technically can't play it. Because you have to, but the base game is included, and then you upgrade to the premium one. So yeah, it's you can just do that. But it is, you're right, £100 if you don't have Game Pass, or you want to buy it immediately.
Yeah,
or I think it's cheaper on Steam.
It is cheaper on Steam, and I'm about to bring up some of the Steam numbers.
Go and get your Steamy numbers up.
So on Steam, obviously you can't buy the base edition. It has to be the premium one to get early access. Which is $85.99.
How much?
Expensive.
Yeah.
Which is less than on Xbox.
Yeah.
But on
you can't
Steam,
play it on Xbox,
you can look at the concurrent players, which at the time of writing, which was on Friday, so literally less than a day after it had been released fully in early access, it had a peak of 234,502 concurrent players, which made it the sixth most played game. And that's from people solely buying the premium edition.
And I've seen all sorts of
just Steam.
Terrible.
If you think about how many people are going to be playing it on Xbox as well.
I've seen some terrible takes on Twitter because apparently that's lower than the peak for Halo Infinite. But then some pointed out that Halo has a free multiplayer.
So the peak now, it's saying 236,834.
Oh, is that even higher?
Is that higher?
I can't remember what the number was you said.
Neither can I. 236,854 versus 4,502. So it's only gone up by a couple of thousand.
But still, it's higher.
Yeah,
Still,
it
people
is
are playing
slightly
it,
higher
loving it.
over the weekend. It's going to be, I think, like next weekend is when it's going to really hit the peak because that's when everybody else will buy the standard edition.
But you can't. Those numbers are just on Steam, aren't they? Whereas I think next week it's going to be mainly people. Well, there's going to be a lot of people on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, and look out because Microsoft will put a tweet out, whatever, saying, "Oh, look how many players we've had." But it's interesting with Game Pass because rather than saying, "Oh, this Nintendo game like Zelda's had 10 million sales," they don't say sales because you can't say that because you haven't sold it. So when it's Game Pass, they'll be like, "Oh, it's had 10 million users playing it."
Downloads.
And the thing is, that's kind of meaningless because that could be 10 million people literally playing it for 20 minutes and going, "This is shit," and turning it off. Or it could be 10 million people completing it and saying it's the best thing ever. So it's really hard to gauge that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess sales, someone could buy it and only play it for 20 minutes, but still.
Yeah.
It just feels like a slightly meaningless stat. But anyway, it's very, very popular. It was also hugely popular on Twitch by literally, like I say, less than a day after early access came out. Streamers had racked up 3.57 million hours of Starfield watched, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And it was the 10th most watched game on Twitch.
Right
already.
now, it has over 100,000 viewers. I think it had 500,000 at peak, like when it first launched, when people were just interested.
A peak concurrent viewership of 552,031.
That's right. So 100,000, but it is literally a Sunday lunchtime in the UK, and
I mean, that's fair.
America hasn't woken up yet.
Yeah. Anyway, the short point of all this is it's gonna be big.
It's gonna be big, and it's it's good.
Very popular
so far.
Some more sad news this week is that Volition Games, which is the studio that made Saints Row and is owned by Embracer, has been closed down effective immediately. Now, Saints Row is going to be one of the PS Plus games for this month. So if you haven't played it, you can do it. And that seems like interesting timing to basically try and get a last splurge of money from Sony before closing down the studio. Embracer is they're Swedish, big parent company that have bought an absolute ton of developers and publishers. Yeah, they bought most of
Crystal
Square
Dynamics.
Enix's handoffs, basically.
Yeah.
And a load of other stuff. So it's a huge, huge company, but they haven't really managed to achieve very much since then. And now they've closed one of the studios, which is a bit shit.
Yeah, people are not happy with that, and yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, sad times.
Any more DLC news?
I'm getting to that. Sony's handheld Project Q. Now you're interested in this, aren't you?
I've pre-ordered it already.
Great. That now has a name and a price and a release date. So it's coming out in November. The 15th of November.
And it's the PlayStation.
And that's UK, US, France, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Italy, Spain, and Portugal.
On a Wednesday, isn't it?
Sure. You can pre-order it now via direct.playstation.com, as you've done. It costs 200 quid.
Which I think is fair. It's a decent screen. It's got I mean, like, when you look at the price of an actual Rumble controller, or whatever they call DualSense controller, they're like £80, £90, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's that with a screen and full compatibility, zero latency.
It's a DualSense with a screen in the middle.
Yeah.
That is essentially all it is. But it's 200 quid. It's called the PlayStation Portal. Portal. No.
The PSP, in other words. It's
No.
a PSP. It's the PSP, PlayStation Portal, PSP. So I'll be playing
Don't confuse people, Ben.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to call that as the short name.
I mean, probably PSP. That's probably what they're doing.
Yeah.
Essentially, what this means you can do is you can stream games directly from your console over Wi-Fi onto a screen. Yeah. So it's a bit like... Well, no, it's not like playing a Switch at all. But it's the equivalent
It's a bit like Steam Deck streaming it from my PC.
Yeah. It's basically if somebody else is playing the TV... watching the TV, watching a film, using it for whatever else, and you still really want to play on your PS5, you can basically now play it on a handheld version at the same time.
And people I would like that because I will sit in bed for a little bit and play some stuff, and I don't mind playing handheld. Although the thing is, I could use it connected to this PlayStation in here, which is behind the TV that's behind Ed, so that then you can still play PlayStation in there.
But we have two PlayStation 5s and two TVs. We can just sit in separate rooms.
But maybe I want to sit in there.
Why do you want to be near me?
So I like to see you getting angry at Armored Core and things.
Sure. It's more like if you're sat playing Starfield, I could sit in there and play.
Yeah. I mean, this is
on the
nice, but
PlayStation.
there's no
But equally, I could just sit in here.
But there's no
So, like-
sofas. There's no. I mean, you're probably wanting to play it handheld.
No, I'd probably just sit in here.
Would you?
Yeah. So if you've only got one console and one TV in your house, then sure, this is another option for you, I guess.
I like it. I think it's a decent price. I've just seen nothing but hate for it because that's typical of gamers on the internet with comment section just being like, it's already got a backbone, because there's a backbone thing that you can officially get from PlayStation that you stick your phone in and you can do it. But this like literally is it's over Wi-Fi from your PlayStation. There's going to be very little latency, if any. Because one thing I was really surprised at, I've said this before, with the Steam Deck, if you stream it directly from your PC on the same Wi-Fi, I cannot believe how little latency there is in that. And I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. It has to work perfectly. It worked perfectly. I was playing Destiny on a Steam Deck, streaming from my PC. That's how like fast it is and how good the reactions are.
Well, there you go.
How good the
Get yourself a
latency.
PlayStation Portal. And then the last
If it's for you, sometimes it's just not for everybody.
No. I mean, if you're buying one, I'll probably use it just to say I've used it. But
Great, and then I will use a TV.
yeah, and then that'll be like once, and then you'll put it down, it'll gather dust.
I feel like I'd use this a lot more.
We'll see.
We will.
Last bit of news, which is from overnight, and that's because PAX is happening somewhere in America. And there was a Final Fantasy 16 panel, and we've now had some news on Final Fantasy 16. So, firstly, there is now an update, 2 updates.
I saw this literally 2 minutes after it was posted on Twitter, and you were asleep, and I'm like, I don't want to wake him up, but also the second you stirred, I was like,
this is happening.
This is happening.
So there is now an update for Final Fantasy 16. Out now. It's free. There are 2 things in it. Firstly, there is a weapon transmog, which means that you can basically have the visuals of one weapon with the stats of another. So one of the complaints with the game is that there's it's very linear how you upgrade your sword, and there's no need to use different weapons.
Because the ultimate weapon you get is the best.
It's always going to be the best, and everyone you get is always better. There's never an elemental affinity or anything like that. So you always get a better weapon. But if you like the look of an old one, you can now just do that.
Yeah.
There's also a similar thing with outfits, or there's an extra outfit that you.
I was hoping for the beach
wear.
DLC look, but the beach outfits haven't been added yet.
No, but you can switch to alternative outfits now if you particularly want to for the main characters. So that's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is that the PC version has now been confirmed that it's on the way. We still don't know when. We kind of figured because they'd already talked about it.
It's gonna be next year, isn't
sadly. And we know that 7 Remake came out on PC, so it was always going to happen. But it's confirmed now, definitely a PC version. And then the third thing, which is much more interesting, is that there are going to be 2 paid DLC expansions, which I'm presuming are going to be story based.
Well, yeah, they said they want to know more about the world. He said they want to know more about the world of Valisthea.
Basically, this is all from a video from Yoshida, so I don't think he's actually at PAX. But it's a video from Yoshida talking about feedback from fans. And one piece of feedback is that everybody loved the world and they want to see more of the world and the story. So they are going to add in some extra story-based DLC. Now, what that is a guess at this point. We have no details. The obvious thing is Leviathan. Now, slight spoilers here if you haven't played it. But we have the icons, as you know, and each icon has its dominant, which is all the different characters that you go through. But at one point, you see a mural in the game which has all of the different icons. And it includes Leviathan. But there is no dominant of Leviathan. So, there are thoughts that there's going to be a story expansion about Leviathan coming back, or maybe a prequel that's about
maybe
Leviathan.
what happened to him
Exactly, and who the dominant is. If it is a prequel, I guess you then wouldn't play as Clive.
Yeah,
so who would that be? Maybe he plays a new character, I don't know. Or if it comes later, maybe Leviathan comes back, and so then somehow Clive has to get Leviathan's powers or something. Maybe that could be cool. Yoshida's also been asked, what would you want from DLC? And he did say that playable Cid would be cool. Now, that's no confirmation that that's what they're going to do, but he has mentioned it. So I'll throw that out there.
maybe people can let us know what would you like in it, because maybe we can talk. Yeah, maybe we can talk about it.
What would you like to see, Ben?
I would like to see a snowy area.
Interesting. Would you like it to be before or after the main events of the story?
Part of me would like it to be at the end, like afterwards, because I always like a bit, it to keep going because it's a great story. But also, I think, I don't know, an origin story might be quite interesting to see the origin of some of the characters, to just build on them a bit more.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. If they're going to do a sequel or whatever, then...
See, this is the thing. I don't want them to do a sequel because of what happens at the end of the game. I don't want that to continue. I sort of like where it ends. But equally, if they can build on what happens at the end of the story, they can build on the battle system more. And I think a lot of people felt the battle system didn't go as far as it needed to, at least in your first run through. New Game Plus, you unlock all the powers from the beginning. So I think they need to add more to the battle system. And if they do it as a prequel or something earlier, there's less room for them to expand on the battle system. However, they can then expand on the world and the story, which I think is more what they want to do.
Yeah, maybe add a side bit later on, a bit like in The Witcher, the Blood and Wine DLC, that kind of.
My other thought is that there is the prologue of the game, which is, young Clive, and then there's a big gap. And then you play a slightly older Clive. What happens in that gap?
What happens to a certain character in that gap?
And then there's another gap later on. So there are a couple of time gaps where they could fill that with stuff. And I imagine maybe that's what they might do.
Yeah, maybe. I'd be intrigued. I'm looking forward to going back to it. Now I'm kind of holding off on my second playthrough to get the platinum.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, if all of this DLC is achievable during a New Game Plus playthrough, then that's a great excuse for me to play through it again.
See, this is the thing, because I just blitzed it and I wrote so much about it and I built up to that game so much. I don't want to say I feel sick of it, because I'm not sick of it and I really enjoyed it. But I am a bit like, okay, I'm done with it now.
I wonder if they'll come out at the same time, if the PC version will be released with that extra DLC.
Yeah, and it will be like Ultimate Edition that you can buy all in one.
Iconic edition. Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God, if Square Enix, if you don't call it Iconic Edition, you've missed a trick.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Well, we've gone over a bit more than what we were going to do, but who cares? It's a Sunday here, and it's a Monday or whatever, wherever you're listening.
Exactly.
But yeah, thank you very much for listening. We will be back same time next week. We're back in the rhythm. I think we don't think we have any holidays or anything like that planned.
No, we've got some Sundays free, I think.
My mum's here next weekend.
She can join us.
And she can't join us.
Okay.
She knows nothing about video games. She told my brother to go and collect his Playboy, because she meant to say Game Boy and PlayStation and was all mixed up.
Wow.
So, and he was like, "What? How do you know about no?" So yeah, we'll be back next week.
You were the one with the Playboy, weren't you?
I was the Playboy. Always been.
We'll have inbox as well.
Yes,
we'll be back on that.
We will have a new inbox up probably Friday. I think that's what we like to do.
Do we?
Yeah, inbox on Friday.
Sure.
Stick it in your box on Friday and celebrate for the weekend.
Nice.
But yeah, Ed, where can people find you?
You can find me at ed_nights on
everything.
On everything, really. Twitch, all the socials. Yeah. Or you can see my writing on Eurogamer.net.
And I am Biggest Bennis everywhere. You can find me Biggest Bennis1 on Twitter. And just if you want to listen to more of our podcast, go to swappingjoysticks.com. That is the only place where you'll be able to find, well, actually, no, it won't be the only place, but Spotify, Apple, Inbox is an audio only thing that we do. So if you want to go and check that out, you can. And also, I don't know if it'll be ready for next week, maybe the week after. I'm going to be setting it up so that we have a decent, very good quality cameras for us, because we already have one, but I just need a second one. And actually, I found the really, really good one that we've got. I found another one of those, because they don't make them anymore, from eBay or, second hand, and it's actually a lot cheaper than I thought. It's actually cheaper than both these cameras, which is
interesting,
annoying.
Well, there we go.
Because I threw the boxes away and I can't. But yeah, also completely unrelated. If anybody wants to buy 2 Elgato face cams, let me know, because I have 2 spare now, or I will very soon.
And I'll say it's these cameras, and they are good. It's just that I think we sit far away from them.
So we've zoomed in a lot.
As like a webcam, if you want a webcam just on you closer to the screen,
or you want a camera that kind of picks up a lot of your room. Like if you've got a lovely Kallax.
They're good cameras.
So there you go. Thank you.
Get in contact.
Yeah, get in contact. We only have 2 available, 2 left. Come while stocks run out.
Limited stock.
Yes, go to swappingjoysticks.com. That's where you can get everything. I don't know if we'll ever do an inbox on camera, but if we do, it'll be with a beautiful new camera. But yeah.
Right. Well, we will see you next time. Thank you for listening and or watching.
And we'll have a lot more Starfield and probably Sea of Stars again.
Yeah,
and maybe
more Stars next week.
There's nothing going to be new. I don't think we're going to be starting anything new in the next week.
But we may have finished some games.
Not Starfield.
Well, I might.
Yeah, you.
We'll see.
All right, then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.